rather than sitting here and repeating the good advice, which you can find all over the internet for young men, I thought I'd flip it on its head a little bit and tell you some of the worst advice that either I've heard myself or I've heard people give to other young men. And basically just steer clear of this and steer clear of this advice and these people, and you'll probably be golden. So let's get straight into it. I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 for you, okay? So first and foremost is around balance. Try and live a balanced life. Now, I'm all for balance, but the way that most people are framing balance is not, it's seen as very aspirational in society, but I think it's gonna keep you poor. It's gonna probably make you more miserable and maybe even make you fatter. It's not a healthy way of looking at life, I don't believe, because the way people are preaching balance is trying to do everything all at the same time and expecting somehow to get ahead. But without being able to focus on one or maybe two things, but really one thing, the chances are that you're gonna actually fall backwards in most things, and the thing that you maybe care about the most, you might move forward very, very slightly in. Whereas if you just go, right, okay, you know what? For this season, maybe that's 3 months, maybe that's 6 months, maybe that's a year, maybe that's 5 years. I'm actually just going to consciously sacrifice a couple of other things, and people are gonna call me weird and get to a level of acceptance with that, but I'm gonna go all in on this one or maybe two things. I ideally encourage you to do one thing. And that way, you're gonna get so much further ahead in that one thing. And what you'll also find is the things you think you're sacrificing and gonna make massive losses in, you really won't. Like maybe you'll make slight losses in them, but the chances are if you go all in and get very good at one thing, it will, what's the word? Transcend isn't the right word, but it will transfer, I suppose, across to every other area of your life. So yeah, for me, don't look at balance in the way that most people are looking at it, which is week to week. I would look at balance in seasons. And as I say, a season isn't really a defined period of time. At an absolute minimum, it's going to be 3 months, but it could be 6, it could be a year, it could even be 3 or 5 years. So that's the first one. The second one, listen to your body. So people who say this assume that your body and your brain are on the same team. And sometimes they can be, but for the most part, they're not. If you're trying to change your body, your brain is going to fight you on it. So basically what this is your brain wants to keep you in a state called homeostasis, which is basically it just wants to keep you the same, because your brain's primary function, its real role for you, is to keep you alive, okay? And it will do this by keeping you out of danger. It will do this by suppressing memories. It will do all sorts of weird and wonderful stuff that will keep you alive. And the easiest way for it to do that is to resist change. And you might be thinking, yeah, but what if I'm unhealthy? Your brain isn't necessarily very good at detecting if your body is unhealthy or not. It will just act on immediate responses and trying to keep you alive. So if you are morbidly obese, let's take an extreme example. So you're really overweight and you're like, I need to do something about this. I really want to do something about this. You're actually going to find it harder than someone like myself to make a change, because the change that you need to make is bigger, and the bigger the change, the harder the brain is going to resist. I'm not telling you this to put you off though. I'm actually telling you this to encourage you more, because if you know what's coming, and if I give you the context, hopefully when that resistance comes from your brain, you understand that what is happening is very natural and it's kind of meant to be harder for you, but at the same time, it's probably working. So if you're feeling that resistance, lean into that and keep going, because the reality is the only person, and I know this sounds a bit cliche, but the only person who's holding you back is you. No one's actually like restraining you. No one is force feeding you, and no one is stopping you from going to the gym, right? You know, you're not, well, hopefully you're not tied in a basement being force fed, I don't know, olive oil and not being allowed to leave, right? Your body wants to move and your brain wants to stay the same. That's how it works. So they're not on the same team for the most time, but when they will be on the same team, is when you start to, once you've broken through that barrier, and then your brain's like, oh, okay, I see what he's doing now. Now I'm all for it. And then that's when you build that momentum. And you know when you just feel like you're in flow with anything. And you're like, oh, this is amazing. It's so easy now. But you've got to go through that hard bit. And basically the way I explain it is like, imagine there's two roads, okay? You're going like this. And you've decided to take this road. And your brain wants you to take this road. And you've gone like this, and then halfway here, at this point, your brain's gonna give you an option to come back to the main road, okay? But it's gonna say like, okay, look, you can come back, and it's gonna be super easy. Or if you carry on like this, there's gonna be like traps, and there's gonna be broken stuff, and it's gonna be horrible. It's gonna be really, really hard. So it gets to a point where it basically gives you an easy way out. When you get to that, that's when you have to go, sick. This must be really working. Double down, ignore your brain, and keep going, okay? So that's the second one. So don't listen to your body and don't be balanced. You see what I'm saying? Like when you frame it this way, it seems, hopefully I'm helping it to make sense, but it's somewhat counterintuitive to what society will tell you. But honestly, like look at society. Like, do you really want to be like normal? Do you really want to be like society? No, I don't. Anyway, third one, do what makes you happy. It's hard to say which of these pieces of advice is the worst, but this one I think is definitely up there. So let me explain. Before you start anything, it's just an idea, okay? And the idea of hard work doesn't make anybody happy, but the result of the hard work will. The challenge is, if you're always doing what makes you happy, even if your job is your passion like it is for me, you won't actually get anywhere because you're never going to get past the ideas phase. So rather than doing what makes you happy, recognize that to get what you want that's going to make you happy, the middle block is hard work and there is zero shortcut. And the sooner you kind of accept that, and by the way, for context, if this is the first time you're watching me, I'm 36 years old, I'm an online coach, have been for 5 years, primarily helping men with their fitness, their nutrition, and their mindset. But for 10 years before that, I worked in the corporate world. I kind of did it, I followed all of these pieces of advice. I tried to live a balanced life, I listened to my body, I did what made me happy, and the other two, which I'll come on to, and it got me basically nowhere near where I wanted to be. Okay, so now I was like, okay, I need to basically just reverse all of these. And it's a very hard thing to do. It's only a hard thing to do because it's a limiting belief, right? No one likes the idea of hard work, but we love the reward that it gets us. The quicker that you accept that the hard work is there and you're going to have to do it and just get on with it and do it, the less time you spend procrastinating and the more time you're actually going to spend happier. But doing what just makes you happy all the time, it's not going to get you anywhere because you're just going to do the stuff that makes you feel comfortable, and comfort here is the real enemy. Like just living in your comfort zone and never pushing yourself or anything like that is not a good thing. Number four, be realistic. Said someone who no one remembers. Like literally, look at your favorite successful person, whoever it is. Could be in business, could be in sport, could be in movies. Well, I don't know, like Elon, Bezos, Steve Jobs, Thierry Henry. It doesn't matter. Like, do you think that their career and everything they've achieved, all the accolades, has been built on realism? No. First you'll be relatable, then you'll be unrelatable, and then you'll be inspirational. At the beginning, everyone loves the idea of what you're saying. I'm going to go and do this. I'm going to go and win this. I'm going to go and achieve this. I'm going to go and make this. People are like, oh yeah, that's amazing, man. Good luck, amazing. And then you start doing what you need to do to get there. And people are like, why are you being so weird? Why can't you just be normal? Why aren't you coming out with the boys? That's when you're unrelatable. That bit lasts a very long time. It's isolating, it's lonely, and it's very easy to just go back and fit back in. And then suddenly you've made it. You've made it through the unrelatable phase. You've made the money, you've got the body, you've got the girl, whatever it is. You've built the business, you're successful, and now suddenly you're inspirational. Oh, well, my mate, oh, well, how did you do it, bro? Like, oh my God, what's the secret? What's the hack? What's the one thing? Everyone wants to know these. What's the top 3? The hard work. That's it. That's it. Most people know how to do this stuff. They're just not willing to do it. Or even if they are willing to do it, they're not willing to do it for long enough. So that's number 4. Number 5, the 5th and final one, everything will work out. Caveat, if you do the work. So that one I've caveated because everything will work out if you do the work. I had a conversation with a friend yesterday. I'm in Spain. He was flying over because he was sorting out his wedding arrangements. He's getting married out here in September. And we were sat down just having a coffee in the morning. And he was like, how are you? I haven't seen you in like 6 months. And I was like, you know what? Like the last 6 months have been like the best and the worst of my life. And the maddest part is because in the last 6 months, I've just gone all in. I've followed a lot of what I've said to you here today. I've not been balanced. I've not listened to my body. I've not done what's made me happy. I've not been realistic. I've gone all in. And when I mean all in, I mean all in. 7 days a week, 16 hours a day on one thing. It's very hard. It's very isolating. I can say this stuff with conviction because to an extent, I live it every single day. But I said to him, I was like, you know what though? I'm at peace. I am at peace because I feel like it will work out because I am doing everything I can. Like I am not leaving anything on the table. I go to bed every single night and I sleep fine. I go to bed because I'm exhausted and I sleep well because I'm exhausted, but I also sleep well because I know I've not left anything on the table. There's no niggling down. And this is an important piece of advice because at this stage where I am now and where a lot of you might be, and again, this can apply to business, this can apply to your fitness, relationships, career, whatever it might be. You might be tempted to give up or to think it's not working. And you just have to know that if you are doing the right thing and you are genuinely trying as hard as you possibly can every single day, it will work out. I don't know if it's going to be the universe. I don't know if it's some kind of God. I don't know. But what I will tell you is that the universe will give you more than you give it. But you have to give the universe something. And it's interesting, I listened to a podcast the other day with Richard Hammond, who, if you don't know him, used to be a presenter of Top Gear. I believe he's still doing some kind of car show with the other two on Amazon. And he was asked what he would tell his 15-year-old version, the 15-year-old version of himself. And he said, he thought about it and he was like, I'd probably tell him everything's going to be all right. And then he actually was like, you know what? Actually, no, I wouldn't. Because if I told the 15-year-old version of myself, who was a little shit, that everything was going to be all right, he wouldn't do the work. And he was basically saying like, he knew everything was going to be all right looking back because he knew that version of himself would get up and would do the work. But if he went back and told him, oh, it's going to be fine, don't worry, he would have gone, oh, happy day, I'll just sit back and chill. So he said he wouldn't tell him anything. And I love that. You've got to have that. You've got to go through that period of uncertainty because that uncertainty will drive you to do the work. So if you've noticed the theme around these 5 pieces of advice, it's basically just do the work. So I'll leave it there. I really hope this has been useful. Sorry if I sound a little bit nasally. I'm just recovering from a horrible cold. I lost my voice for a few days, which was insane. I've never lost my voice in my life. But I am back. The energy levels are up. I'm excited to make more of these videos. Like, comment, subscribe, share, all the usual jazz. If you've enjoyed this one, guys, I'm posting every single day. And like I say, I am back in the game. But I really hope this video is useful. It's a tough world out there for young guys, particularly now because there's so much information. You know, if I think about when I was growing up, I had my friends, my dad, uncles, and you know, the internet just wasn't a thing. There was zero podcast. Like the podcasting industry didn't exist. YouTube didn't exist. Facebook came into practice when I was 18 years old. There was none of this. And it's amazing if you're focusing on, if you're watching the right stuff, listening to the right stuff. But if you're not, it can be insanely destructive. And it can also be very contradictory. So I really understand that. All I would say is give this stuff a go. And if it doesn't work, then what have you lost? A little bit of time. It doesn't matter. You're young. You've got loads of time. So I'll leave it there, guys. I'll see you soon.